be going over a couple of other battles. We will be recapping Elite Battle League and a few other ones that we are rocking with. But hold on a moment here, and let me see if he's having any. All right, so he should be joining shortly here. And let's see who we have in the building. This is going to be one of our best interviews. I'm really excited for this one. Hope y'all ready. Hope y'all excited. We doing this live, the King's Court Network. Make sure y'all subscribe. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel, please. All right, here we go. What up? How you doing? Make sure you have your mute off.
What up? What up? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. All right, how you doing, man?
Pretty good. How you doing, homie? Long time no see.
I know, it's been a while, All right, so we're already live right now, so I did a little bit of an intro, but I usually don't tell people exactly who they are. I let you do your own intro, so let everybody know who you are, what you do, and why we have you here today.
Cool. Well, I mean, I can answer the first part of that, but I'll ultimately let you contextualize why you want me here today. My name is Jacob Karsemeyer. I'm known to a lot as Nameless to many people, big name on Instagram. I am many things. In my 9 to 5, I work in web production, and in my evening times, I do all sorts of music work and support and management there. I've had, a little bit of a career as a battle rapper, not much of a career, but a little bit of experience as a battle rapper, and released a couple musical projects myself, and been really lucky to work with some fantastic artists. And yeah, now more than anything, father and many things. I'm really not. We haven't talked a huge amount about the context for this interview, so
I will say, because one of the reasons why I started to do the platform, I've always wanted to kind of do the blogging thing, but just through life, I haven't had a setup where I was stable enough to do it properly. So yeah. I just started it, and one of my main goals is to give shine and media light to the Canadian market, indie music, battle rap, because we all know there's a lot of battle rap media, but as of right now, other than me, there's no actual other Canadian-based media doing, so I really want to give shine in like Toronto hip hop history, battle rap thing. And why I want to interview you is, to be honest and stuff like that, is I will say, me personally, when it comes to the mixture of battle rap and Toronto hip hop, I consider you like one of our unheralded legends. Like I knew about Nameless years before I ever met you. When I used to freestyle, like just freestyling around Toronto, because that was used to my thing. Anywhere there was a cypher, freestyle. Like for years, I heard about the name Nameless as one of the dudes, and certain battles like the freestyle battles and stuff like that. I heard about the name Nameless, and then there was the good years, early 2000 Hip Hop Canada message board, and your Marty McFly project, and you're one of the few battlers. If we look at battling now, you're one of the few battlers who actually make music and not battle rap music.
Right.
So
oh, definitely. And that's something that, first of all, much appreciated for that for that context. And to be honest, I mean, it's very humbling because I'm tied up in so many things now that that don't really relate to that kind of period, which to me was a really important part of my life. And I think you caught like the pieces that I was most active, because a lot of that stuff is not really tracked in the same. It was when it was a verbal tradition, when it was like, you know, whispers from person to person rather than kind of chronicled on YouTube in the way that it is now. So you know, it's humbling to hear you know, a nice nod to a very different time, I think, in terms of that world. And I think you really highlighted something that I'm glad it was experienced to you as that, because to me it was so important. To me, battle rap was a platform to promote music, and if anything, like, I felt a big part of the reason why I didn't get involved really early on in King of the Dot, and haven't continued to be as involved as some of my peers, was because I felt it had such a gravity to it that it was taking away from my love for making music. Like my history in this came from writing poetry. I grew up in like listening to punk rock music, and there was like a big you know, I had a profound respect for hip hop, but it wasn't until I kind of hit high school and it like connected to this like cultural, social world where I was able to go out to shows and meet people, and like you said, you know, the cypher community, and like going and visiting other high schools and like hearing who were the good MCs, and like Empire and those dudes around then, where it was like there was a culture, there was a pre-internet culture that that was really incredibly interesting to me, and gave me some experiences that that will be with me for my life, and that I'll pass on and, you know, regale to my children and whatnot. So it is an honor to be on a call with someone who was around for that time, right? Like that you were there, and like I'm glad you gave a nod to Hip Hop Canada, because that was really where those conversations started to happen, and people started to come together. And it wasn't just like you were able to connect with people that you saw out at every show and that were out at these events, whether it was like, you know, local artists opening up for out of towners when they were in town, and ciphers that popped off at those shows, or like, you know, In Divine Style, and like the little community Mindbender was building, and you know, you'd have these like couple familiar faces. But unless you were like really extroverted and introducing yourself to everyone, which as like a you know, shithead teenager with all the confidence and privilege in the world, I was like very comfortable going out and talking to people. But it was really nice that when those forums came around and people could come and connect and have conversations there, it really kind of like formalized it and started building a gravity to it. So
like, I had an interview with Mike Stone, DJ Mike Stone, and we were talking about it, and we were like, there seems to be right now, like that whole period. So I guess it would have been like 98, 99 to like 2008, 2009, before there's that whole period where there's a lot of stuff that happened in Toronto hip hop that doesn't seem to it didn't seem to carry on. Like, it doesn't seem to be remembered. People like remember the 90s with Chaclair, thing like that, and now they remember the Drakes and the new guys that are coming off. But there was like a whole period where Project Bounce was coming out, and like, you know, Empire was big, and you know, there seems to be like a whole period of hip hop that a lot of people don't seem to have remembered, or it doesn't seem to get highlighted.
like the like Elemental concert series, and like just this whole era that was pre-internet. And I think, I mean, there's lots of, I think that part of that is that the generation that wrote the story on the internet is the people who are most comfortable on the internet. And even as like I work in technology, and for you know, through the company I work for Facebook and Twitter and Google, and like the giants of the internet. And I definitely consider myself like a very internet savvy person and have built my career around it. But at the same time, there's a generation of people who, like, I remember a time before the internet. I remember my first experiences with it and like learning about it as a concept, and the generation that really grabbed it by the reins are the one that the purely digital natives, right? Like that are like born and bred into this internet culture. And so there is like a little bit of a gap in the history. And I kind of, part of me really loves that. I think that's cool that like that we existed in a time, because it wouldn't have unfolded in the same way if we were as upset. Like I got a digital camera in 99 or 2000, early 2000s, and like people didn't have digital cameras then. And I look back and like find these photos of me and my friends like hanging out or like out at parties and stuff, which is so commonplace now, right? Like showing those pictures to people now, they'd be like, why is this exciting? Who cares? But it's like, that was a time that there was actually a novelty to pulling it, like. And I think that I actually have a presentation that I'm working on about this, but I think that a big part of that is about the medium. And I don't think for instance, I don't think improvisation works as well over the internet, right? Like there's not a way to capture it. Part of the magic of improvisation is capturing the energy of a physical space, right? Like, right, feeling the like collective energy of a group of people. And that's like, obviously I experienced that through freestyle and through rap. But I think that same thing happened in jazz and in other genres as well, where not that there isn't still an improvised culture, but the expectations of an audience online that's not time specific, right? Like, and so like when videos started getting posted online, I had to adjust my material from like, you know, entertaining a bunch of drunk people at a bar to like entertaining some fucking kid in his mom's basement who's like, you know, watching battles while eating lunch, and like is like has a very different, and will like rewind and watch things over, right? So it all of a sudden considers a different audience. And so there was an awkward transition from that improvised, the freestyle era, where even someone suggesting like doing the faded, like holding up the pen and being like, yo, it's written, this guy wrote that, you'd get boos, right? If someone, so like you'd have to show that you were rapping about the person standing there on the stage with you, right? So I think there is something really, to me, that's cool as shit about being part of that era, and like that we were really about it. Like we'd go out to an event and have absolutely nothing prepared, with the confidence of you know, that I only wish I could recreate now as a 36-year-old, right? Like just that bare confidence to be like, no, I'll be the best rapper in the room, I'm good, I'll figure it out.
I thought I was only like, that's the one thing I wonder, like, where my confidence, like, because even with the written, I'm like, where did my confidence, because I'm doing written and I'm so like doubtful of everything. And I'm thinking, I remember being at Caravana and it was Scandalous there battling, and at like nothing, he did a line where he dissed Pickering, because the guy he was battling was from Pickering. And I'm like, no, you can't diss Pickering, because that's where I'm from. And I stepped up like nothing, and me and him going back and forth. Like I used to just, with nothing prepared, nothing whatever, and just go no matter who was around. And I couldn't imagine
like it's hard now, but part of that is also that there is a confidence that comes with the fleeting moment, right? Now it's just burned into our experience and the way that we move through the world, that we just assume that everything that we do outside of our house is like videotaped and will exist forever on the internet, right? The stakes are so much greater now, whereas then you could have a bad night. Maybe the next time you showed up, someone would be like, yo, you were whack last time, and you'd be like, yeah, but I'll kill him this week and whatever. and shake it off, and it's gone. You know what I mean? There's not this like, I know your Facebook and your Instagram, and I'm gonna like, I will tag you in this, and you and all of your loved ones will be able to watch this for the rest of forever, right?
Yeah.
And there's like a explorative quality to that impermanence of the moment that allows for experience in a different way. That even like one of the first things, again, like I was looking back with a friend who got a video camera like way before that was like a thing to do, and we were filming skits, like doing like Tom Green style shit or whatever, and we thought we were the funniest kids in the world, and like had a couple of videotapes of parties and shit. And we watched it recently, like a few years ago, and it was unwatchable. Like we watched 2 minutes and we were like, thank God the internet wasn't there to have posted this on, because like we were just such shithead little kids, like just tearing through the world and like without a care in the world, that like, even now I feel for the kids now, because my kids will grow up in a world where it's assumed that, you know, you constantly have to have that guard up. There's not the ability to experiment with identity in the same way, right? Like I would go to message boards and pretend to be different people, be a grown-ass man, be a grown-ass woman, like pretend, just log in and like make up a name and like experiment with identity in that way. And it wasn't this like permanently marked, and this is like you now. And that was incredibly valuable to me as a kid growing up in the city. And again, like with this, you know, incredible access to culture and like, you know, that's in the past year, there's been a much greater focus on conversations about culture and access and privilege, and I think they're incredibly important conversations. But one of the biggest privileges I have when I look back is like the access to culture, like to frankly Black culture and like a lot of other cultures, that like being in the city afforded me this access. So when these conversations started happening, I've been having these conversations since I was a young teen, right? Like when I started experiencing Black culture and like seeing the way that, you know, for instance, police acted differently, right? So those were things that like were just built into the way that I moved through the world, and that I'm so like incredibly grateful for, because it's given me, that's like such a richness of culture. And you know, my parents were big on travel, and you know, my mom's from Guyana, so like seeing that world and those things. So there were lots of things that contributed to that and made it like possible for me to take those gifts. But that's something that like, again, I'm just very humbled by, and just like incredibly grateful to have been along for the ride on.
So what was your last battle? It was a while ago.
Was against Big T.
Huh?
The last one was against Big T.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember that there. So would you like ever consider returning to battling, or that's...
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple people that I would like to battle, that I have discussed battling with, that I have a great amount of respect for. That, you know, if the platform made sense, then I'd do it. I don't like, there's a part of the like cutthroat battle rap culture that I'm not really into. Like, I'm not trying to have someone like try to get me in trouble at my job or with my wife or something. And there's like, there's just a whole built-in, like, that's one of the things that when it, I would have really loved to battle some up and comers and like give an opportunity for people who were, you know, who weren't part of that previous world, and kind of pass the torch on. I think a big part of why the culture has kind of felt like it's fizzled out a little bit, in terms of like momentum, not that there's not still a great culture there for people to have great experiences with, but there was a point in like 2013, 2014 where there was an incredible amount of momentum and attention. And I think a big part of the reason why that wasn't sustainable is because of, like, there's obviously complex things have lots of contributing factors, but the way that the scene supported up and comers, there were a lot of things that made it really difficult for them, right? There was, people, old heads like myself not wanting to like get in the ring with some young kid that might tear their head off. For me, I was more I was worried about like people trying to like reference my job or bring in some shit that would like get my boss mad at me or something. But for a lot of people, and I definitely considered it. It's like, you don't want some kid to come and take all this thing that you've worked so hard on and just destroy you, and you're only as good as your last battle, right? So you had all these veterans who like weren't really eager to take on young up and comers unless there was like a paycheck involved with it. So it made it really tough to sustain, that there became this like high cost to manage and to run the leagues, that made it tough for up and comers to like make an impact, because what you want is, sharing of audiences, not stealing of audiences, right? Like, I don't want all of my fans to like leave me and be like, this guy's like him but better, let's just focus on this other guy, right? Which is, to me, one of the reasons why I think it, like, a lot of battle rappers approached it like UFC, where it was, or boxing, where it's like, whereas I think we should have approached it more like WWE, like looking at it like entertainment. Everyone knows it's entertainment. There's like kind of this assumed camaraderie outside of it, where you could be a bad guy within the world and like people could boo you, but you could still be really good and like respected, and then like, evolve and maybe get good for be a good guy for a couple years and then a bad. Whereas like, if you're a bad guy in battle rap, like everyone hates you and like fucking calls your workplace and like tries to file complaints about you.
Complain about something.
It's this weird, like, you saw a guy like Pesci, I think, for instance, he could have really approached the bad guy thing, but it was too personal, right? Like, it became this like really personal attacks and really nasty shit slung at him that was like, he was just trying to rap, you know what I mean? Like, spit some crazy bars.
It gets kind of personal. Like, that's my whole thing about it, is like, I don't mind people getting disrespectful, but like, there's certain personal things like that'll be an issue. Like, don't bring my family involved. My kid didn't sign up for battle rap. I signed up for like battle rap. Like, I remember when I was battling, like my first battle was against Mookie and I'm Wilson. And I remember for promo, he was doing stuff like photoshopping pictures of my wife on stuff, and I had to message him. I'm like, are we keeping this battle rap? Because and he had this. Because I'm like that's too far. Like, that's my family. Like, you can Photoshop pictures of me, you can, but don't.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where it becomes this like cool guy thing that I think gets in the way of it being really entertaining. Whereas if I would totally be down for like being the bad guy and like, setting up some little, like, I even talked about it with PH, rest in peace. We had like a conversation where I was like, we can do some shit if you want to, like, we can make like a little plot line, or like you can like pretend to slap me in the battle or something, or like, just legit slap me or whatever. We can figure something out, or like we can get in at whatever. I told him I was open for anything that he wanted to like choreograph and do something entertaining. And he's an old school, he was a true school dude. So he's like, nah, that shit's corny, B. Like, let's rap shit. And I was like, all right, so cool. We'll just do it. And I think he actually had a bar about it. He was like, this dude's fake. Like, he's trying to like, I forget what he said, but I think he had a line about it. But to me, that was just my approach to it. I was always just trying to do it for fun and have a good time and like entertain an audience, right?
Honestly, because I was a little bit disappointed in King of the Dots decade event and stuff like that. I actually like that they had Paul Rich on it, but I was disappointed is like I wanted to see you on it. I wanted to see Pesci on it. You
Yeah.
know, like I wanted the decade to be, represent the, the whole history of what built King of the Dot. It's kind of what I wanted that event to be. Like,
Yeah. No,
so,
I hear you. And Gannett reached out for that. Like, shout out to Gannett. He's always been an incredible friend to me, and a supporter, and has always let me know that, like, this space is there if there's a battle that makes sense, that he'll always support it. But to me, it was just not at the right time. Like, for me, I don't want to do Big T. I did because, like, it was a good battle and he has a big reputation.
yeah.
But my heart wasn't even in it, and like, it was an all right performance. I did okay. Like, I think I won, but like, it wasn't like, I felt like I set a really high watermark with my Kid Twist battle.
Yeah.
I'm happy about how that one went. And like, basically since then I've just been like, because that was one that I really wanted, right? I felt like I had something to say. I felt like, there were a lot of things that, like, I do that he also does, that I was able to, like, draw this distinction between the way that I approach it and the way that he approaches it. And that was really exciting for me. And as a result, I think my performance came across really strong. Then there's been a lot of, like, all the Grand Prix I didn't really enjoy. It felt like work after a certain point. And the whole, like, again, like, as someone who grew up in an era where my preparation was like, get drunk that day and go freestyle. That was like what you had to do. Maybe try to, like, see a lady friend so you're confident or something like that. Like, that was about the extent of preparing for a battle. To this, like, month and a half of, like, looking in the mirror every day and being like, what are they going to say about me? Like, why am I ugly? What is wrong with me? What weaknesses do I have that they're going to know about? And, like, it's just not a great place to be. I'm like, I make a lot of music. I don't like, most of it's not stuff I release. I play a bunch of instruments and stuff now. And, like, so
you're still making music?
Yeah, we've got a little. There's a nice,
a little setup there.
Well, rig there with some synths and some. I got, like, a Fender Rhodes, and I play guitar, so I got a couple of those kicking around. But when I'm like writing for a battle, that's it. Like, there's no other. Anytime I'm like, oh, I feel creative, it's like, now you have to do this work. You have to write these 120 bars or whatever it is, and, like, it's just, it's not like it's not something. I don't watch a huge amount of battle rap anymore. I caught some of the Grand Prix or whatever, and it's cool. I enjoy it. I just, to me, it's not like, there was a point in time where it was a big part of my life and I was like chomping at the bit to see what was coming out next, and talking to Gannett every day or two and what's in the future and whatever. And it's just not, I'm not as excited about it anymore. I feel like I saw some really incredible things and experienced some really incredible things, but yeah.
That's one of the questions I ask everybody. What would be your best experience being associated, like, with battle rap, whether it's like an actual battle rap or somebody recognizing you or just traveling? What would be your best experience and what would be your worst experience through your battle rap career?
Good question. I think for me, I mean, getting to travel as a result of this was, like, just so incredible to me. When I went out to London to battle Mark Grist, and yeah, it was just so insane to me that I was, like, traveling around the world and being paid, seeing a city I'd never seen, that I haven't been to since. I just like the time I had. I got to battle on the first day, so the second day I could just be there as a fan, like partying with those guys. And I didn't actually hang out much with because there was like a little contingent of like North American battlers that were all in a hotel together, people that had traveled there. And I actually had a room with Pesci. He was my like roommate while I was there. But just the whole like every day was packed with like 10 incredible stories of like, you know, just moving through the city and meeting people. And like I met some great people from there that were they just had this like student art house like a block away from the venue. And we were just like we went out to a bar after one of the days, and Roan, like being the incredibly charismatic dude, there was a point that this girl was like, "Where are you from?" to Roan, and he was like, "Philadelphia," and she was like, "West Philadelphia," and he was like, "Born and raised on Plymouth," and then like she like started rapping it along with him. And then I kicked in the beatbox. I was like, da-dum, 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 dum. And by the time we were like, you know, with had the dice in the mirror, the whole bar was like singing along. Roan was like up on a table, just like the band leader, just killing it. And like, you know, those are things that, again, when you have the confidence and arrogance of someone like who is in a city because someone flew him there to rap, like that's not something I get to like, that's a very unique experience to me. And
so
like making friends that like showed me the city, and got to watch some great battles, and like they were just starting to get some attention from YouTube. So like seeing the YouTube studios there for the first time, like they have like a studio set up as they do in Toronto here. And it was just this like blur of really incredible moments with a bunch of great people. Mickey Worthless getting in a fight with Lo Pesci.
I remember hearing that story.
Yeah, I have a video of that will never get released ever, but I came home from hanging out with other people back to the hotel, and they were just all fucking tweaked out, and like
that was the whole getting the better fight.
Yeah. And yeah, it was too much. Anyway, so that was probably a high point. I think also like when really big like I've built some great friendships that I don't think, like the Epic Mealtime dudes that I met through battle rap, I'm still good friends with Harley, and see him from time to time. And yeah, like my connection to the kind of OVO circle is through 40, that was previous to battle rap, but through battle rap I became good friends with Hush for a bit. We were hanging out and shooting the shit about battle rap all the time, and like playing video games and shit. So just lots of really good relationships, and being able to like, the fact that I can go to most cities in the world and like find someone to bring me weed, and like you know, like have like at least some baseline of being able to be like, yo, what should I do, what should I not do? Like my Facebook has people from all around the world, and cities that I haven't been to yet that I have friends in, and that's cool.
Good.
I think that's a unique thing. Worst, I don't know, man. I've been pretty lucky. Like I mean, two things I'll note. I think my music suffered because of battle rap. Like there was a point that I felt like I put out the Martin McFly project and I was really happy with it. There were some decisions I made in the production of that and in the release of it that were done knowing that most of my audience, like the lion's share of the people who were going to watch my video and that kind of shit were from the battle rap world. And in hindsight, I would have liked to, that's great. And like, cool, count on them. They'll either be there if they're fans or not. but I would have liked to have focused more on developing an audience outside of that, not to take them for granted, but just to work on, again, like as a teen, I was like really defining myself and figuring out how I wanted to present myself. And like when you're celebrated in a certain community, it creates a bias there. So that's one piece that I think like maybe that story would have gone differently if I hadn't found battle rap as a big outlet. And then I also have a Mookie Wilson memory that was terrible, where he promoted a party, a concert series at a weed bar at like the Toronto Hemp Company or whatever it was, THC bar. And again, like my experience for performing had been to an audience of standing up people who were, drinking and were mostly focused on the performance. Whereas this was like maybe like 20% of the audience was like people who were there to see rap. And then most of the people there, it was like, it ranged between like being slightly interested to like it being really inconvenient that they were trying to smoke pot with their friends and like some dude was rapping on stage. And I do a lot, like I was really interested in university and really in life in general, in like crowd dynamics and these moments that you turn a group of people into a crowd rather than a group. Like a group can be more easily sustained and supported over the internet and whatnot, but there's something magic about like a crowd. I think everyone who's gone to a bunch of concerts has felt that moment where like you realize that if the performer was like, okay, start fighting now, like everyone would start, you're just kind of like hypnotized, right? And it's a really magical thing that that was my favorite part of being a performer, was like trying to win over the crowd and being like, okay, I got them. They're captive, they're paying attention, they're really engaged, and I can like, do my thing. I can tell my story and they'll listen. And this was like the opposite of that. There was nothing that I could have done. Like, and that's where my mind goes, right? Like as an improviser, I'm like scanning for opportunities to like maybe make a lighthearted joke or find some way to like make an in with the people who are out because they're really fucking up the vibes. And it being a pot bar, it just like the natural state of I'm a big fan of pot. It's probably the vice that I consume the most. But it's not a particularly like social necessarily. It's a good one-on-one social thing.
Yeah.
So the second there's like too many brains, for me at least, it affects everyone differently, but the second there's like more than a couple people there, I start to get tangled when I'm like trying to cater to all of the different audiences. And this was just that, like times 100, worst audience ever, worst vibes for me ever. And just this, like, I think I did like 3 songs. And of course, like Mookie being the like hustler that this was the beginning of in the early days of his like promotional career. And I think he's doing some awesome stuff now. But he was still trying to figure it out. And one of the things that he had done was like packed the card. So like told 10 people because he thought 3 of them wouldn't show up, but then like 9 people showed up. And so he had like not enough time for everyone. And I knew like, they were like, oh, like, can you only do it? Like, it was just like all the pressures and all the things were terrible. And, I got through it. I did my thing. I performed a couple songs and like made a joke of it and like, smoked away any frustration that it caused.
Are you going to be releasing, because you said that you're making more music, but you don't release a lot of it. Are there plans on releasing music, or this just for your creative outlook?
There isn't a plan right now. Like, to me, it's just a creative outlet. I really like, I've stayed really interested in this idea of like improvisational, like capturing the magic of what happens when you improvise music. So that's like, I play a lot in that space. In terms of like writing and the music that I'm doing, I've like sold a couple songs to other artists that then go on to perform them and you know, turn them into their thing. I've done like, I've collaborated with artists in that sense. I think eventually I'll release something, but it's still, I got into it because after Martin McFly, you know, I've been very, again, very lucky to work with some phenomenal producers and been very spoiled. Like, you know, when Noah Shabib is the first guy to record you as a teenager, like it's a little difficult to he's like literally the most successful producer in the world. It's a little difficult to like get back to that same point, but I felt like in the project that I did in with Super 83, there was a real magic between me and him, had a really strong chemistry. Yeah. But he's pulled in a lot of different directions and doing a lot of things, and I was like, I wanted to keep momentum going, and was like, okay, I'm gonna like buy some gear, buy like a keyboard and some stuff, and figure out, at least like learn the lingo, so that when I talk to a producer, I can be like, I like, you know, this kind of music. I like reverb on my this thing. Like, why don't you throw some, you know, put some swing on it, whatever, you know, like know the terms. And like, you know, thought I'd maybe make myself a couple beats as like a long-term goal. But really nothing has turned out super rappy. Like, I haven't rapped on anything I've produced in the past 10 years. And other people have really liked it. And a lot of the songs that like I'll make like a chorus and, you know, maybe have some ideas for ways that verses could go, or like a non-rap bridgey kind of verse type thing. And they like, people have taken, because I'm obviously like, that's where I spent my formative years and grew up doing and being involved in. So they're very like rap focused and like sampleable, I would say. Like a few people have like taken bits of things I've made and like turn them into beats and songs. But I think a lot of what I'm doing right now is like explorative and experimental, and so like inevitably I'll do like, and this happened. Listen, this happened for me with rap as well. I finished 2 projects that never got released. That what happened was, by the time I was done recording it and like it was ready to go, I had continued writing and like was in a different place creatively, and no longer felt like it represented me as an artist, and was like, no, I really want to get it right. With Super 83, like part of what happened there was that his beats to me were like so thirsty for like rap. Like they were just like they were just begging to be rapped on, and I literally wrote like the first beat he sent me. I wrote Yo, the song that was like our first single release. I wrote it like that night. Like I was just like, wow, it's just like came out of me. And then he must have sent me, I think there were like 2 beats that he sent me that I didn't use. And there were no songs that we made that didn't go on the album. Like, it was written and recorded over less than a month, I think, end to end. And I was at a point where I was like really keyed into it. I basically like, I go through a thing where I listen to a very wide range of music, but like before Martin McFly, I stopped listening to any new music. I was like, I just want to like freeze the place that my brain is at right now and get this thing out of me. And it happened so quickly. And then I was able to focus on, you know, writing more stuff and leaning into other things as we were working on the release for it. But it all came together quite quickly. So I haven't really been able to like put my finger on exact, like I'll do like maybe 2 songs that I'm like, okay, these 2 could go together. But even the act of like thinking and being like, let me see if I could add to that, to me kind of breaks the flow for me. So I do stuff that it's like a huge range, very wide range of music that I'm making. And I feel like either so much of it'll be there that I can be like, okay, there's like, I can I can snag like 5 or 6 of these and start to release them, or it'll just be like a big dump where I'm like, here's like 200 random ass songs that could all be from different bands and or artists, and you know, take it for what it is. Or I'll find a spot where I'm like, okay, no, this is it. This is like the configuration that I want. This is the gear that I want to be using, and just like churn it out over a short period of time.
You can just drop like a Nameless Lost Tapes, you know, volume 1, you know, just.
Yeah. I mean, I have not, this is like case in point, right? I have not released the project as Nameless, right? Like I did a project with Super 83 and we called it Martin McFly.
Yeah.
And then I did a project with a guy named Dumb Saint, who now is in a fantastic band called Baby Girl with his girlfriend. They do like cool, like poppy music, like indie pop. And that was called Decade, because we're like, our birthdays are 2 days apart, but 10 years apart.
Okay. So
we're like a decade between us. We'll call it Decade. But I mean, part of that whole thing, I mean, even the name Nameless, right, is this whole, like we were talking about the whole like finding your identity thing that was so valuable to me. I like to be able to play in that. I like to be able to change how people see me and redefine those things. And
didn't you for a while change your name to like No Name or something else other than Nameless?
The label, when I was going to release a label, it was going to be under Known Aim. Like my aim is known, but then like No Name, because it kind of riffed with Nameless.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, Instagram, I do Big Name there, which was kind of my like more braggadocious side of myself, because obviously Instagram being very, you know, narcissistic and posting pictures of how cool you are. So it felt appropriate there.
All right, because I know you don't want to be here late, so there's a few questions that I ask everybody.
Yeah.
So, because it's hip hop and battle rap, mostly related on the site. For your MCs and then your battle rappers, who are your top 5 of all time? Your top 5 artists, your top 5 battle rappers.
That's a really difficult one.
I ask it.
So there's something that has to be done when you're defining like best, because to me, like the greatest of all time conversation is, to me, like when I define greatness, it's the ability to define what's relevant over a long period of time. So there's been lots of people who like made an incredibly powerful contribution, and to me in particular, right, like someone like Pharoah Monch, for instance, right, like I would put him in my top 5 for like my personal what resonates with me, but I don't think he's like defining the genre in the same way that someone like Busta Rhymes has been able to continue to do for stretch across like 3 decades, right?
Yeah.
Maybe 4 now. Geez, if you can put out a hit this year. So I mean, I think I can talk about some artists that are like were really important to me. I'd say like
I could definitely your delivery and flow is differently. I'm not very surprised that you'd be a Pharoah Monch fan. Like
no, I mean I came up on that like the like sound bombing era, Lyricist Lounge and shit, and he was the first one, not the first one to really shake up structure, to have like the most incredible tight like big pun level of technical execution, but not just to like beat you over the head with it the whole time, right? Like I remember he was one of the guys who, like, I remember downloading a song that had a feature of him and being like, oh shit, a new Pharoah Monch feature, and he was just doing the hook on it, and I wasn't even mad. Like I was like, what? What was the song? My life is all I had. Like, and it like blew my mind that and that to me opened the door for like you know, Drake, who really took that. I don't think without Pharoah Monch, I don't think Drake would have done what he did, because I know he's a big fan, and that was something that like opened up the opportunity to belt one out. I've often said that it's like good technical rap is like a guitar solo, and like you don't want to hear a whole song of guitar solo. Well, some people do. There's like a hyper technical heavy metal, like industrial rock crowd that's like solo for 8 minutes. I love it. Yeah. But it's just average person. Yeah. Oh, okay. So back to your question. The greats, I think, you know, Jay-Z's up there. Drake is up there for me. I think Young Thug is like phenomenal from this era to me. I think he's like, I love the first tune I heard from him, and what he's done with it to me has been absolutely mind-blowing. Pharaoh I'd put up there. Yeah, that starts to round it out for me. Who did I say? I won't even remember here. Pharaoh, Jay-Z, Drake, Young Thug. I gave you 4.
That's good enough. Okay.
I want to leave it open on the
who are some battle rappers that, you know, like you really liked, or, you know, you really thought?
I'm going to say like, from this era, like I definitely think Pat Stay is like as good as it gets.
Yeah.
I really love what he's done with it. Thesaurus has like crossed many eras and been absolutely at the peak of them and stayed relevant. Juice was someone I like looked up to as like that freestyle dude. You know, Bender was like a huge inspiration to me. That was a huge loss. I think, I mean, I love what Mook's done with it. He's been able to like, again, do many different genres and different styles, and like fallen off and come back and just been able to still have that conviction. And I think he's doing some cool stuff with it. I have a huge amount of respect for Sharon, just as getting to see his story arc from being like the snot-nosed kid to, you know,
because you would like me be around like next month. I've already talked to him about doing an interview, because I'm like I still remember watching the high school video. I remember like his first King of the Dot bat, like,
yeah,
and just watching where he's coming from and stuff like that, and just seeing him on Wild and Out and stuff like that kind of impressed me and stuff, because I was like,
no, and he really, you know, if there's someone to write, like if there's like a like, you know, rags to riches battle rap story about an awkward white dude, like that guy's like the guy to do it about, right?
Jerome's life story would be Bodied Part 2.
Yeah. I am sure there were more than a few times that like Alex wasn't, when Alex was writing Bodied, that he didn't like, you know, remind himself of young Sharon, because it's yeah. There you go. You got 6 battle rappers, I think. So it rounds out. I did 4 rappers and 6 battle rappers.
So what else? You said that you do website. That just for yourself? Is that for a company or for yourself? Like,
so I work in the field is called digital production, or like project management, basically. At its core, it's like timelines and budgets and managing teams. So I've done that for about 12 years now. I teach a course on it at Centennial College in Toronto here, that for like post-secondary students who are looking to move into that field. And then my 9 to 5 is at a company called Jam 3. That's like I think one of the top 3 interactive shops in the world in terms of building building online experiences. So they do like experiential stuff as well. So like a couple years ago, they did like a complex thing where they like released a product for Adidas at Complex Con. They did like Complex Con this year. Did you see it was fully digital? I don't know if you saw that. We built that. That's something that the company did like that. We built that whole world, and like that was a project that we pitched and built. We did like the big project I worked on last year was for Facebook. They own Oculus, the VR company. And they were releasing a Medal of Honor game for virtual reality, and we did the website for it. Like that was like my big project that I did last year for Jam 3, and it went on to win. The awards are just coming in now, but it's won pretty much every award it went up for. It won like Site of the Year for like FWAs, which are like the big like awards body within that. So yeah, it's basically just, but not necessarily strictly like website stuff. They also do like how can you bring digital into an event, or how can you have like a cool kiosk for people to like customize their shoes on, just anything that like requires, you know, technology. So yeah, that's the field I work in. I've been very thankful that it's pandemic proof. We actually like, our business has grown a huge amount since the start of COVID. So I'm very thankful for that.
Definitely good. All right, so those are all the questions I have. I do appreciate, you know, you coming out. If my opinion means anything, we need you to at least come back for at least one more battle. And for the next Grand Prix, at least come back, you know, bring the Nameless judging 2.0, you know?
Yeah, I judge
judging as well.
Let me ask this: who do you want to see me battle? Who would you be like, oh, that's an exciting battle? That's a good matchup.
Honestly, I would want you to do somebody new. I don't like. I'm trying to think of who like, but I would want you to like somebody new, somebody like not personal. Like I want you to go against like a pen, like somebody with a pen, you know, that just could like somebody who's gonna try to rap with you. Like I don't want none of those super disrespectful trying to get personal information and whatever. Like I want somebody that can rap with you, and I want somebody that like mixes in some freestyle with their stuff. Like very old, you know, a new version of an old school where you guys are just rapping at each other.
Yeah, no, if I felt like that was something that I could put on, I would gladly. I think it's just finding the right time for it.
The right timing and the right opponent there to make it make sense.
I got my third kid on the way. They're here in June, so I doubt it'll happen anytime in the next, you know, few months or whatever. But I'm open to the idea. So if you're a young and up and coming battle rapper watching this, and you enjoy freestyling and non-personal bars, holler at Mumbles. He'll set it up.
We'll hook it up. You know, the great Nameless.
All right, respect.
Thank you very much, man. You want to give any social media or anything? Let them know.
Yeah, I actually just got my Twitter account back because I did a project for Twitter, and I was like, hey, can I get my account back, by the way? Because it was on like an old email that I couldn't use anymore. So Nameless, KNAMELIS on Twitter, Instagram, big name on Instagram, and yeah, you can find me.
All right. So I do appreciate, you know, you doing this for me, and I'm honored to have the interview. I've always been a big fan. I've always been a big supporter of yours, and this will be on my page, King's Court Network. I'll send you the link for the interview. Just send it out to your peoples, and I do appreciate the support, man.
Will do, man. Respect. Thanks.
Right, thanks very much, man. Have a good one. Sorry, guys. Getting a little bit of a cold. All right, so that was Nameless. So what I'm going to do here, we're going to play a little bit of some of that Marty McFly album there. And that's how we'll end the night. Make sure y'all, this is the King's Court Network. Follow me, make sure you like, subscribe to the channel, share the video. Follow me on Twitter at KingsCourtENT. Follow me on Instagram, Mumbles905. And hold on a moment there, and we'll definitely get you some music there. There we go.
I got a gang of orangutans that'll leave you MIA just like a-lang-a-lang. Make up my slang on the fly, that's why I'm front and center while you hanging on the side. Turn your sash to cucaracha, make beats disappear, call me chupacabra. Nyrone called on the iPhone, said he had some wild shit with all of the right tones. Some minimalist with maximum in. Welcome to the Martin McFly experience. What we're trying to do with this record, push ourselves into the not so distant future. Take you along for the ride. Got the incredibly talented Super 83 on the ones and O's. Hitting you with that retro Futura snare to snap your neck type shit. And me, I'm nameless. Let's get into some shit right now.
Put something in your ear, time for you to grab. The whole world. You know what I'm saying? But it ain't free, it's a fee. Check it out.
Yo, I got a gang of orangutans that'll leave you MIA just like galang-a-lang. Make up my slang on the fly, that's why I'm front and center while you hanging on the side. Turn your sash to cucaracha, make beats disappear, call me chupacabra. Nyrone called on the iPhone, said he had some wild shit with all of the right tones. Some minimalist with maximum impact. I finished my raps with just a little time to spare. Roll 20 of the skinniest splits, tell a taxi cab and arrive at my rhymes prepared. See that sign in the air, bat signal all big like rap singles gon' hit like my big right. Know you're having a midlife, but you're tap dancing with glass slippers up on some thin ice, and that's some insane shit. And I don't even know your name, kid. What's your name, kid? Yeah. What's your name, kid? I don't know, son. I don't know, son. Yeah. What's your name, kid? I don't know, son. I don't know, son. Nameless, that's some strange shit. These kids is running around acting deranged in anguish with their bangers hanging out, but they was branches. How you gonna be armed and not even know where your hangs is? Armored up, my chainmail is famous. You plain kid. Always complain like a plaintiff. Only time I complain's when I just landed. Sanding, my shoes fresh off the plane trip. Drive away on the highway, high and irate. I'm late, I can't even see where my lane is. Time I put in the game, multiplied by my crime rate, makes my place higher than these lame kids. Where's Nameless? I think he's working a late shift with the grave diggers and the kids in the basement. Face cakes for your faces if you debate it. Got a great big list of the ways I could've made it. If you take 6 paces and blaze, I'll evade it. Face shift out of the way like it's the Matrix. If you miss the payment and think you safe from the invasion, bad news, I already know where the safe is, and that's some insane shit. I don't even know your name, kid. What's your name, kid? Yeah. What's your name, kid? I don't know, son. I don't know, son. Yeah. What's your name, kid? I don't know, son. I don't know, son. Nameless. Yeah. What's your name, kid? Yeah. What's your name, kid? Yeah. What's your name, kid? I don't know, son. I don't know, son. Nameless. One step forward, 2 step backward, tightrope dancing in the rafters. Everybody's so concerned with acting just like a rapper. I'm trying to make some music and I'll think about it after. Everything's always so clear in hindsight, so I keep my mind's eye focused right up on my blind spot. But my timeline's not side to side, it winds and spirals. It's why I don't like to drive lots. Why I always end up in the park drunk trying to spark blunts when the narcs come, please tell me. Why I always end up being the one that barks tons, acting like the sharp one when the sharks come, really? Yeah, I guess there's other fish in the sea, but every fisherman knows none as vicious as me. And I'll be tipping his boat, he'll be missing for weeks. Why don't you just keep it Michelin and stick to the streets while I'm all up in the boardroom? 24th floor with a gorgeous view of the city I was born to. Toronto, I love you, but I'm bored too. Don't be jealous when I tell you about the cities that I tore through. Code red at the homestead, sleep more in a plane than I do in my own bed. She telling me she missing me, just a cheek, tell her we just getting started, baby, wait until the single leaks. But we always looking up at the same moon though, right baby? I'll see you there tomorrow night. And I promise I'll never let it get the best of me. Even when we live in destiny, breaking records had a pretty impressive week. 7 digits on a press release, gave them a taste of the flavor, now they begging for the recipe. And I could take the pressure, I swear I can handle it. Couldn't have 5 years ago, but I would've ran with it. Can't expect it all candid and quaint when you stand in the rain with the canvas and paint. That's why I got a rubber stamp with my name. I'll laminate it, put it under the lamp in the drain. And I've been at the studio a couple days now, shades down, haze lit, blazed out, spaced out, no spaceship, just laid out like played chips. make hits till I get phased out, but I found a better way. Get an education, build a resume, and then maybe then I can get away. Till then I'ma just fiend for the booth while I'm stuck up in the studio dreaming of the moonlight. Till then I'ma just fiend for the booth, no windows in the studio dreaming of the moonlight. Take me to the moon, please take me. Need to make hits, blast straight to the moon. Take me to the moon, please take me. Need a spaceship, got a date on the moon. Take me to the moon, please take me. Need to make hits, blast straight to the moon. Take me to the moon, please take me. Need a spaceship, got a date on the moon.